This is going to be fun. Okay. Hi everyone, it's Crystal, and today I'm going to be doing a book review on Sunshine by McKinley. Now, when I grabbed this book, I had just come back from vacation. I really had no idea what I wanted to read. Basically, I just walked up to these shelves and grabbed the first title that did not look familiar. So I went into it completely blank, not knowing what to expect. So Sunshine here is a book that is based on a girl named Ray, or Sunshine. She does go by both. In there, it does say that most of the time they call her Ray, but that is derived from Sunshine, which might have been her original name. Now, that was a little unclear to me. Anyways, the first thing that you notice is that she is a younger girl. I'd say early 20s. They do talk about her finishing high school, but she hasn't really had a lot of life experience, has been living on her own for a couple years. And she works at a bakery, well, a coffee shop, but she's the main baker, and all you hear about through the entire book is cinnamon rolls, her famous cinnamon rolls, and her bitter by chocolate, or, you know, all the other desserts that she makes, but primarily her cinnamon rolls. So, you hear about them a lot. I guess they're really good. The book starts out on a night off that she has, and she decides to, instead of hanging out with the rest of the crew, she decides to drive off to an old lake home that her family used to have and basically just relax, just chill. There, at around dusk, she all of a sudden is captured by a group of vampires, and that's when I found out that it was a vampire book, and basically taken hostage. When she is captured, what you find out is that she is being used pretty much as bait. So this whole group of vampires grabs her and takes her to this mansion on the other side of the lake, locks her up, chains her up to a wall where on the other side of the room there's another being chained to the wall as well. You find out later that he is a vampire too. Now, I will say this about the vampires in this book: they are not the sparkly vampires. They are not the sexy vampires. They are not the attractive vampires. They are the monster vampires. They're the ones that don't elicit any sort of desire. So the vampire that she is put in the same room with, like I said before, she's set up as bait. And what the bait is to try and break this other vampire that's chained into the room with her into using his carnal desires of food. And that's something that I found with this book too. So the pacing of this book, there are like 4 big exciting instances in the book. I'd say almost one every 100 pages or so. And in between that, you have a lot of internal monologue and mundane living. With that, I mean, it's nice to see her try and process what's going on in her world, but it becomes rather tedious. It's the only comparison that I can make is when you're so used to, because, okay, I'm a Whovian. When you're so used to the pacing of Doctor Who now, where it's boom, 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 and then you try and go back to the original series, and it takes 4 episodes to basically create that one storyline that in nowadays we would have within an hour episode. That's how this felt. They could have, Robin could have really compressed the action a little bit more, but instead dragged it out so that you could hear that internal monologue and you could hear her processing. But at times that processing was more whining, or again talking about cinnamon rolls, or again having to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and not getting enough sleep, or having to work later in the day and some of the customers, or I mean that's the situation. There was a little bit of background that you find out about her, with her father supposedly being a big druid and his family being one of the big magic families, like royalty, that's in the world. But he has nothing to do with her. You never meet him. You never hear more about the family other than her grandma, whose home is the one that she visited on the lake, and she hasn't had contact with in well over 10 years. The grandma's the one who originally showed her a little bit of magic while she was younger and planted the seeds for instruction, and then the wars happened, and then she never saw her grandma again. Her mother had left her father before the wars and basically marries a human and works at the restaurant with Sunshine. That's about it. That's the background. That's it. I mean, the setup and talking about her having a huge magical background and inheriting this huge lineage would be an amazing story, but he doesn't go into it. Just like, I mean, with the Voodoo Wars, you want to hear more about the Voodoo Wars. I mean, I'd love to find out what actually ended up happening other than everybody came out of the closet and now there's fighting between the groups and nobody likes vampires. That's pretty much it. I mean, he could have really gone in depth as far as the different species go and playing between them, even to the point of her boyfriend. At one point in time in the book, Sunshine mentions and talks to herself about how her boyfriend has a whole bunch of biker tattoos, or what she had assumed were biker tattoos, but they're probably wards. And if you were going to have that many ward tattoos on you, you had to be a big badass. And after a huge long rant on that, it drops. You never hear what happens. You never find out about the boyfriend at all. You don't hear what the significance was. She just rants about how these tattoos are only used by powerful magic handlers, and then that's it. You don't know if it's because he is. You don't know if it's, you don't know his background at all. And the time that Robin spends focusing on those sorts of things honestly pushed me away from this book. I tried reading it, and I had to keep putting it down, because eventually I just got really tired of her whining, or her constantly complaining about her work schedule, or her talking about her cinnamon rolls again. I mean, I understand first-person point of view books, you're gonna have more self-talk, but just to move the plot along a little bit more, I would have had, I don't know, more than 4 action points in this book. When you actually did get to the action parts, they were good. They were really good. And it made me want to know more. It made me want to know this world more. It made me want to figure out these characters. Like the vampire that she meets up with when she's chained in the room. His name is Constantine, and because of the situation that happened while she was captured, they end up keeping in touch, which is something that's completely taboo, I guess, in that world. Vampires only eat humans. No human has ever survived a vampire before. And yet they all of a sudden have this connection, but it's not a friendly connection, it's not a bad connection, it's like a fish at the end of the line, and you feel this tug, and so they're there, but they're completely different species, so they don't know what to do with each other, but they don't know how to unhook the line. That's how I would say it. And you don't get to find out much about Constantine either. You find out a little bit, but he is a character that you really could have developed more and found out more of the backstory. He's supposed to be a different kind of vampire than the other kinds. See, they make a point of saying that there are two different kinds of vampires, and that's why he was captured by this other vampire, Beau, because Beau wanted Constantine to not fight his animalistic urges and be more like Beau. And that's all they say. They don't say how he's different. They don't give the backstory of why Constantine is different. They don't explain anything other than he's the last, and yeah, that's it. He's the last. And that he didn't eat Sunshine. He didn't eat Ray. And so that's pretty much it. As far as the ending goes, I would say the climax was mediocre at best. When they got going and they were fighting all the bad guys and all of that, it was really engaging, it was really fun, and they get to the end, okay. And then the story continues on almost unnecessarily. There's more inner monologue, there's no finality. The story leaves a lot of loose ends, and I don't know if it was because she's supposed to show up again in another book, or if Constantine's supposed to get another book, or whatever the situation is. But, yeah, this left a lot of questions. More than I was hoping for. I'm trying not to give much away. I'm trying not to do spoilers, but I'm trying to give an honest review. I've had so many people raving to me about this book, and they're like, "Oh, Crystal, you're gonna love it. Isn't it amazing? Aren't you really, like, absorbed in it?" And honestly, I mean, it was a paranormal book. It was an urban fantasy book. It had some really good points, but then a lot of it was just dribble. A lot of it was just filler. Things that you really don't need that were added, I think, just for the pages. So I would rate this book, and I did on Goodreads, 3 out of 5 stars. I maybe could have gone to 3.5, but they don't do half marks, and this guy didn't deserve a 4. He did not deserve a 4. So 3 is good if you want to check it out. It's a really good book. A lot of people raved about it. I'm sure that people are not going to like my review of this, but that's why it's my opinion. Anyways, thank you so much for watching my video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Digital and Vellum, and follow me on Facebook, Goodreads, Twitter, Instagram. I'm going to be posting things a lot more often, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.